official, guys. Welcome to Clarissa's Kitchen. I cannot believe I'm saying that in this kitchen. It has been about a month and a half since we've been trying to pack and move and settle into this home. So thank you so much for bearing with me. Today's the day that I wanted to kick it off with a pumpkin cinnamon roll recipe perfect for fall. So if you're gluten-free, vegan, or if you're just looking for a type of recipe that's super healthy. So if you haven't done so already, please make sure that you give this video a like and subscribe right down below. Turn on those notification bells because I will be posting a video almost every single week. Now that I'm in this brand new kitchen and settled in, I cannot wait to share with you guys more recipes. So without further ado, let's begin the recipe. Before we start making the dough, turn on the oven to bread proof, which will bring the temperature at 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 37.7 degrees Celsius. If you don't have a bread proof function, turn on the oven to the lowest degree setting and use a thermometer and make sure the heat is at that temperature. Next, we're going to heat up 1 cup of almond milk or any plant-based milk you prefer. Since I don't have a microwave, yes, I know, I'm using a small pot to heat the milk up. The temperature should be about 100 to 115 degrees Fahrenheit, so warm, not piping hot. Then pour in a small bowl and add a packet of instant yeast. Then whisk together and set aside for 5 to 10 minutes until the mixture starts to bubble. Using the same pot, add a half cup of vegan unsalted butter. Once the butter is melted, I recommend to pour it into a measuring cup afterwards. I'm using Earth Balance and another brand is Smart Balance. If you want to opt out of the vegan option, you can also use regular unsalted butter. Now, as we let the butter cool down for a little, we will be making our chia seed egg substitute. This requires 3 tablespoons of water and 1 tablespoon of chia seeds. You can also keep the chia seeds whole versus grinding them up as a powder. Both ways will work. Let the chia seeds soak up the water for about 5 minutes until it becomes like a tacky glue. And as a reminder, you can use this with grounded flax seeds or use 2 eggs at room temperature if you are opting out of the vegan option. Then in a large mixing bowl, add the yeast milk mixture, the melted butter, and chia seed egg. Whisk together, but not vigorously because we do not want to break up the chia seeds too much. And as a reminder, all the ingredients and recipe instructions are listed below in the description box. Now it's time for the star ingredient of this recipe. We'll be adding a half cup of pumpkin puree. Next, we'll be adding a half cup of organic cane sugar, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, a half teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar, and this will help activate the dough. Then whisk together again. For the dry ingredients, add 3.5 cups of 101 gluten-free baking flour, which has xanthan gum in it. My favorite brand is Bob's Red Mill, and you can find this at most grocery stores nearby. And a KitchenAid mixer would have been best to knead this dough. However, using a spatula like I did works just as fine. In a clean bowl, grease with a thin layer of coconut oil or butter with a paper towel. This technique will prevent the dough from sticking. Then add the dough in the bowl and cover with a plastic wrap. Put the bowl in the oven on the middle of the rack for an hour so the dough can rise for a little. About 10 to 20 minutes before the hour is up for the dough to be taken out, let's make our filling. Guys, it was so hard not to eat this filling. It was really, really good. I definitely cut out the clips of me licking my fingers, but no shame to my game. So in a mixing bowl, add a half cup of softened vegan unsalted butter. And as mentioned earlier, if you do not prefer to go vegan, you can use regular unsalted butter. Then add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 2 tablespoons of pumpkin spice, and 2 tablespoons of ground cinnamon. I would recommend doing opposite of what I did and measure your ingredients, but I love adding extra spices to the filling because the more, the merrier. Next, we are adding 1 cup of brown sugar. I ended up doing a half cup of light brown sugar and a half cup of dark brown sugar since I didn't have enough of one. You can either do the same thing as I did or choose one of the brown sugars, but definitely pack the sugar in the measuring cup before adding it to the mixing bowl. I like using brown sugar instead of coconut sugar since the molasses really helps the cinnamon rolls stick together. Then I use a hand mixer to mix the filling together, and then use a spatula to scrape off the sides of the bowl, then set aside. Now that an hour is up, tear a sheet of parchment paper, lightly flour the rolling pin and surface, and start kneading the dough that we just taken out of the oven. You want to make sure that you smooth any parts of where you see cracks, and the goal is to roll the dough to be about a 1 inch thick and into a rectangular shape. Take the filling and spread an even layer with a spatula. Make sure to leave about a 1/2 inch bare on one of the longer sides of the dough. Then take one side of the parchment paper and we will start to roll it like a long sushi roll, using the parchment paper to keep the dough sticking together. You want to make sure to roll the dough tight enough, and then we'll be slicing the dough into 12 pieces. I usually like to start from the middle to create even pieces throughout. Once you cut the log in half, then cut the 2 pieces in half, then into thirds. You'll see what I mean as you keep on watching. Use either coconut oil or butter to grease a 9x13 baking dish. Please note that I did not fill the entire baking dish with these cinnamon rolls. I used a larger baking dish to give some breathing room for the cinnamon rolls to bake, but you can try to use a 9x9 baking dish. Gently place the cinnamon rolls, then place in the middle of the rack at 350 degrees for 25 minutes. And depending on the type of oven you have, I suggest baking between 25 to 30 minutes. Now it's time for the frosting. In a clean mixing bowl, add a half cup of softened unsalted butter, a half teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 2 to 3 cups of powdered sugar. I would start with 2 cups and then add 3 just depending on the consistency. And if you want a thinner frosting, you can add a teaspoon of almond milk until you reach your desired consistency. Then all you have to do is spread the icing on the cinnamon rolls with a spatula. And if you made it to the end of this video, all I have to say is that this was a crowd pleaser. My friends and family that tried it were super impressed that it was gluten-free and vegan. It has the perfect amount of sweetness, fluffy on the inside, just like the copycat version of the Cinnabon rolls that I had as a child at the mall. So if you enjoyed watching this recipe, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe for more recipes, and I will see you guys next time in Clarissa's Kitchen.